welcome back to Pia Talks, and today we are back with more true crime. So today we are talking about a show called Obsession: Dark Desires, Season 3, Episode 1. This show is also on Discovery ID, and you can catch this episode on the ID app. I don't know if it's on demand or not. So this video is based a little bit on the episode, but it's also based on my Google searches regarding the case. I found some differences in the episode and what the court record stated. So I just wanted to throw that out there, just in case you do watch the episode and you find that there are a few differences. Before we get started, if you have not subscribed to my channel, please support my channel and subscribe. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you can always be notified when I post new content. Well, let's get into it. So one thing that I noticed is on the episode of Obsession: Dark Desires, they give the victim's name as Sadi, and they don't tell you what her last name is. Looking it up and looking at the court records, I find out that her name is Sadi Taylor. Also, there is another victim who in the show, they call him Edgar. I found out that his name is Oscar Rooney. The actual perpetrator in the show, they call him Joe Davis. I found out that his name is Finis Davis II. So that's just a few changes that were different from the show than actual court documents. So this all takes place in Fort Worth, Texas. Sadi is actually a single mom of 3 daughters, and she works full-time, but she also goes to school, and she's just trying to, make a decent life for her and her children. Most people know that most single moms don't have the opportunity to go out and have a good time and just let their hair down, because they're always taking care of the kids or working or, just doing something. So one evening, Sadi actually got a chance to go out with some of her girlfriends to celebrate one of their birthdays. While they're out, her and her group end up meeting this Finis / Joe from the show at a bar. He thinks all the ladies are beautiful and he buys them all a drink. However, even though he buys them all a drink, the ladies think he's a decent guy, but nobody's really interested. He lets all the ladies know that he is a landscaper, and he starts passing out his cards. Well, Sadi lets him know that she already has somebody that does her landscaping, so she won't really, need his services. But he insists that she please take his card because you never know. And she says, okay, so she takes his card. A few weeks go by, and then her normal lawn care gentleman calls her and lets her know that he's been in some sort of accident and he will not be able to take care of her lawn care for the next 3 or 4 weeks while he is in the hospital and trying to recover. Sadi calls Joe because of the neighborhood that she lives in. They are a stickler for lawn care, and if your grass gets to a certain level, they will fine you. She didn't want to take the chance that she was going to end up being fined for an unkept yard. So she calls Joe and she hires him, and he comes over and he does her lawn. When he gets there, of course, after he's finished with his work, he asked her out on a date. She tells Joe no thank you. She's a busy working mom. She's going to school. She doesn't have time to focus on a relationship right now. It's just all about her kids, her work, and school. He says okay, and she tells him, the next time she needs to touch up on her lawn, she'll give him a call. So for a couple of months, she calls Joe whenever she needs her work done on her yard, and every single time that Joe / Finis comes over to take care of her yard, he continues to ask her out. She continues for months saying no thank you. Finally, after almost 3 months of him constantly asking, she says okay. So Sadi goes out on a 1 date with Joe. On that date, she thought, he's a little odd, the way he spoke to her, the way he would stare at her throughout that entire date. She felt weirded out by it. So she thought, okay, this will be, okay, this one time, but that's it. So when he takes her home, he asks her out for a second date, and she explains to him that she thinks it's best for them to continue their relationship as friends and as him, taking care of her lawn until her regular lawn guy is back. And she says that he gives her this cold look that sends like shivers down her spine. But she says quickly, he like blinks and looks up, and then all of a sudden he starts smiling at her and says that he gets it, he understands, and she can just call him when she's ready for him to come and take care of the yard. And she thinks, oh, okay, well, this is great. He's okay, he's accepting it, and that's going to be fine. But it wasn't fine. The next morning after the date, Joe starts texting her. Finis, that's his real name. Finis starts texting her nonstop with, good morning, how are you? Normal text message, just too many of them, and too much from somebody that you don't really want to be bothered with. At the beginning, she thought it's okay. The messages are not evil. They're not mean. It's just too many of them. And, she just chose to respond to a few of them, but ignore most. After a while of getting all these text messages, Sadi decides to give him a call, and she says, hey, Finis, why are you texting me so often? And she asked him to please stop texting so much. She says that at that point, he says, oh, I'm sorry. I just thought that, I would check on you and everything. And she said that began to make her feel bad for asking him not to text as much, because she started to feel guilty, as if she was in the wrong for, being angry with him due to the number of text messages. The thing is, the text didn't stop. They just started coming at night. He waits until really late hours at night to text her over and over again. Some of his text messages, he wanted to know why she had stuck him in the friend zone. He wants to be out of the friend zone. He wants to be in a relationship with her, and he wants to be with a real woman. Right. In the middle of the night, she calls him and she tells him, listen, I want all of your text messages and phone calls to stop. Stop calling me. Stop texting me. You are calling me in the middle of the night. You are texting me in the middle of the night, and you are waking me up as well as my children. And I don't even want you working on my lawn anymore. Just leave me alone. She wakes up the next morning, and there is a note and a bottle of wine sitting on her front porch. She is absolutely pissed and scared at the thought that this guy has actually been out in front of her house or snooping around her house in the middle of the night. That there would creep me the hell out. I'm telling you, after that bottle and note being left on my front porch, one more text and I'm going to the cops. One more text and I am reporting you for harassment/stalking. Cut it out. I have officially asked you now. No text messages, no phone calls, and stay the hell away from my yard. Okay, am I doing too much? Am I asking too much? She reaches out to him one more time and she says, listen, again, I'm asking you nicely. Do not text me. Do not call me. And do not come by my house. Do not touch my lawn. I will handle my lawn and everything else that I need on my own. He stops calling. He stops texting. And Sadi is moving on with her life. She is thinking life is looking great right now. She is having no complications with him for months. Things are looking great. She's super happy. She was back to being a mom, a student, and an employee, living her best life. One night she decides that she's going to stay over to one of her good girlfriend's house. Having a girls' night, just hanging out together. And she gets ready to leave that morning to go, pick up her kids. And there is a note on her car from Finis/Joe wanting to know where she's been and why she's been over at this house all evening. Now, First of all, if you know that I'm at this person's house, you had to have followed me there. How would you know I'm here? Are you tracking my car? What? Nope. No. She finally tells her friend, and her friend says, listen, you have got to go to the cops. Now, personally, as her friend, I would have said, you have got to go to the cops, and I'm going to call them right now, or I'm going to get in the car with you and we're going to drive over to the police. Like, you are not going to just brush this off. But Saudi brushed it off. She says, what am I going to tell the cops? He didn't actually threaten me in his letter. He hasn't hit me or anything. And see, that's a problem. A lot of men and women believe you cannot go to the police because they haven't hit you yet. No, they haven't hit you yet, and they haven't said, yes, I'm going to kill you. But they are harassing you, so you could at least file some sort of complaint or charge or get some kind of police record that you are being harassed. It needs to be logged somewhere so that the police can pull this up at a later date. You know, you have to build a case sometimes. Sometimes when you have a stalker or, somebody who is harassing you or doing things against you, you have to build a case against that person. And she needed to start building that case. She calls Finis, Joe, and asked him why he did that. And he told her, well, I missed you. And I really wanted you to know how much I missed you. I'm sorry for all that stuff that I said and did in the past. I'm sorry for all those text messages, but I missed you. By her calling him, it starts the texting again. He feels like, oh, well, she's called me. I could just start calling her and texting her again. So it goes on. He continues with this. I was thinking as I'm reading up on the story and watching the show, I'm thinking, why didn't she change her number? And then she mentions in the show she didn't change her number because she didn't want to bother with all that hassle. What is the hassle? Instead of changing her number, she starts using her daughter's phone. So when she starts using her daughter's phone, Joe/Finis just starts calling her job. She's a server at a local restaurant. This dude calls her work. Are you kidding me? He called her at her job and he asked her who the hell has been cutting his lawn. His lawn. Her grass is now officially his lawn. He tells her that that is his lawn, and his actual words were, that's my lawn, bitch. Oh my God. Really? That's my lawn, bitch? Okay. Joe Finis, buddy, you got the right lady. You do. Because no. Anyway, she tells Finis Joe. Oh my God, I have got to stop calling him Finis Joe. You know what I mean. He's Joe, but he's Finis. His real name is Finis. I'm going to just say Finis, okay? She tells Finis, don't you ever call my job again and leave me alone. When she tells him that night when she got off work, he was outside her job, standing close by her car. Scares the hell out of her. He tells her, don't you ever tell me what to do. I do what I want to do. And when she starts to say, stay away from me, get away from me, he says, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to scare you. I just came to give you some gas money. And hands her a 20, and she takes it and he walks away. No, don't take his money. That just lets him think, oh, she took my money. So one, either you owe him something or it's okay for him to show up at your work. No. I think she took the money because she was afraid. I mean, anytime a big man walks up on a woman in the middle of the night and she is unarmed, that can be scary. It really could be scary. So, she takes the $20, and the next thing you know, this dude starts coming to her job every day for lunch. Every day that she worked, he showed up at her place of employment to have lunch. She would have to serve him. And she didn't tell anybody at her job that this man was harassing her because she didn't want to have any problems at work. And that upset me so bad. I'm like, girl. Hey, When you are a single parent, you have to have a job. And she was trying to hold on to hers, and I get it. But I have to think that any decent management team would have said, Finis, get the hell out of here and don't come back again. You are harassing one of our staff, and we don't play that. But she didn't want them to think that she was bringing drama to work. One night after work, she goes out with a group of girlfriends. She still has her uniform on and everything. And while she's out, one of her friends introduces her to a really nice guy that the show calls Edgar, but his real name is Oscar. She meets Oscar and she thinks that he is amazing, right? Oscar is a single father. She's a single mom. They have so many things in common. They are having a drink. They're laughing. They're talking, exchanging numbers, getting to know each other, budding new relationship. She lets him know that it's getting late. She worked all night and it's time for her to go. She turns around and looks smack dab in the face of Finis. Finis has followed her to this bar and has been watching her the entire time that she is talking to Oscar. She says that Finis gives her this look of pure evil that scares her and creeps her out. On May the 4th of 2010, her and Oscar go out for their first date. She leaves her girls at home. Her daughter's old enough now that she can watch her two younger sisters. So she leaves her daughters at home. She lets them know not to answer the door for strangers. Here's her phone number. She ended up with two different phones. One phone for her family and friends, and then that phone that the psycho calls Finis. Anyway, she goes out with Oscar. They're having a great time. They go to a pool hall. They're shooting pool. It's her first time. He's teaching her the ropes. They're just laughing and having a good time. And the crazy phone is ringing off the hook. It's Finis. He sends her a text message wanting to know where she is, who she's with. He's asking questions like he's her husband or something. Doing too daggone much. She lets him know that she is out, and that is it. He tells her, well, be safe out there. I'm just checking on you. I'm about to go to bed. Good night. Now, she's not thinking clearly, because that, first of all, I wouldn't have answered. Second of all, isn't that odd that right now at this moment in time, Finis is asking you where you are and who you're with? Finis is actually outside the bar watching her and Oscar have a good time. Throughout the whole date, he is texting her. As it turns out, while she is there with Oscar, Finis has texted her 163 times. And Sadi never mentioned anything to Oscar. Oscar asked, he said, what's going on with your phone? Why is it ringing and binging so much? And why do you have two phones? And she didn't tell him because she said she didn't want to scare him off. In one of the text messages to her, he says, I'm sorry about what I said about killing you. I will leave before I hurt. That's how the text read. But if you care about me, you will take back what you said about me. Do you feel me? I want a real woman. No, I don't feel you. She doesn't feel you, and nobody else does. You are out of your damn mind. She hired you to mow her lawn, not to become the man of her life, not to become the stalker of her nightmares, not to become the pest that will never leave. Jeez, get a clue. When Sadi and Oscar decide to go home, when Oscar pulls up to Sadi's house, Finis is in her driveway. She tells Oscar to pull off, don't stop. Finis starts chasing after them in his car and shooting his gun at them. Oscar is like, what the hell is happening? What's going on? Who is this guy? And he was like, why is this guy chasing us? As he is trying to speed down the street to get away from this guy in the truck. He runs up to the car, beats Oscar and shoots Oscar behind the ear in the back of his head. Then when Sadi tries to run out of the car to get to her house, to get to her daughters, this dude shoots her in the leg. She falls to the ground and she cannot move. She said that she tried to move her body and her body would not move at all. She says that all of a sudden he stands over top of her and says, "I love you." And then he proceeds to pistol whip her. He beat her all over her face and her entire body while screaming, "I love you, I love you." The neighbors, several neighbors called 911. Both Saudi and Oscar were able to recover. However, throughout the trial, Finnis was unruly, screaming and yelling. At one point, the judge threw him out of court and had him wait in a cell through trial. Then they decided they would bring him back in, but they had to put a shock collar around his legs. So every time he acted a fool or screamed out during court, he would get an electric shock through his leg. What a crazy. It took the jury less than 18 minutes to come back with a guilty verdict, and he was sentenced to 50 years in jail. I think he should have been sentenced to life in jail because, he's crazy. Clearly nuts. How does one go from your lawn care customer to your obsession? The prosecutor said during a press conference, he said, "I can't imagine taking a lady on a first date, then getting shot in the head." I am so glad that Oscar made it. I am absolutely glad that Saudi made it and that her daughters were tucked away safely in her home and never got hurt. This case really pissed me off because I'm thinking the whole way, I wish she would have told more people. I wish she would have called the cops. I wish she would have had a gun on her. You know what I mean? It's just so many things. So many signs that he was crazy. In one night, 163 text messages? Holy crap. That's a lot. I am just happy that this time the victims actually lived. And it turns out that Saudi and Oscar are best friends. They are not in a romantic relationship. I don't think Oscar could go there after that. But they have been the best of friends ever since. And they prove that a man and a woman can be friends platonically. So that's the good spot. So, at least he's in jail for 50 years. But oh my gosh, Finnis was too damn much. And unfortunately, I could not find any pictures of Oscar, except for the ones from the crime scene. So, I don't know. At least the victims lived this time. Until next time.